Hello, Azula Foss here. While Magia Record may be the more prominent spin-off to the original Madoka Magica anime, did you know that there were earlier spin-off stories? Both Puella Magi Kazumi Magica, The Innocent Malice, and Puella Magi Oriko Magica were published within months of each other in 2011, following Madoka's success. While some characters of the original anime do make appearances, especially in the latter manga, the works also include their own original magical girls for readers to come to know and understand. For today's video, I'd like to take a look at 4 characters, 3 from Oriko Magica and 1 from Kazumi Magica, and look at how their magical girl designs were constructed. While I'll try my best to be spoiler-free as possible, there are aspects of the designs that only make sense when put into the context of their stories, so I'll give an audio and visual cue for viewers who are interested in reading these stories with fresh eyes. With that out of the way, let's go to our first magical girl. I'll be starting with the girls of Oriko Magica, and who better than Oriko herself to introduce first? The manga's protagonist is a lonely, refined young girl that finds purpose in her life after making a contract with Kyubey. Oriko's outfit, with its long white dress and her hat, reflect this fairly well. It exudes her wealth while also being devoid of color, which indicates her connection to others that she sorely lacks. The floating orbs around her are her main weapon, meant to represent crystal balls that fortune tellers use, very apt for a magical girl that excels in precognition. Another interesting aspect of Oriko's design are the allusions to the game of chess. The front of her dress's sash has a chessboard pattern square, and while this may be a stretch, I find the general shape of Oriko's silhouette reminds me of the queen piece. When taking her power into account, the chess motif seems to connect to Oriko's tactical thinking. In the manga's story, Oriko is trying to find a way to prevent the Madoka of her world from turning into a witch. She goes to great lengths to try to change the course of fate, using others much like how a chess player uses their game pieces. More than her desire to prevent a tragic event, Oriko uses her position as a magical girl to give herself a purpose. Kuro Mura, the illustrator of the Oriko manga, does a great job characterizing the protagonist through this magical girl outfit. This clear characterization also applies to our next magical girl, the bloodthirsty Kirika. She works under Oriko after, spoilers here, accidentally killing another magical girl, hoping to redeem herself and earn Oriko's grace. I can't help but compare Oriko and Kirika to the traditional fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast, where the beauty's influence and love redeems the once wretched beast. Although, in the case of Oriko, the mangaka makes clear that she's manipulating Kirika for her own aims, knowing that Kirika is desperate for her validation. Some of the illustrator's choices in clothing helps in emphasizing Kirika's flaws. The eye patch, for instance, not only adds to the edginess of Kirika's attire, but can be symbolic of her single focus on Oriko. The X across Kirika's chest is almost bound to her, wrapping her up in her own desires. Kirika's weapon, the sickle hands, can allude to the Grim Reaper, representing her bloodlust. The fact that it's not just regular sickles, but that they actually form monstrous hands, can indicate how Kirika's actions to please Oriko only further depletes her own humanity. Finally, the mangaka Mura seems to further Kirika's monster-like aspects with how her coat flares out, bringing to mind the idea of a vampire. After all, what better than the bloodsucker of the night to represent a murderous magical girl? The last of the girls from the Oriko Magica manga, is the story's deuteragonist, Yuma. As the youngest magical girl among the cast of characters, Yuma's design is much simpler in terms of its theming. From the cat-like ears to her cat-tail hammer, and yes, that is a hammer, much of Yuma's outfit references cats. She even has her own soul gem worn as a bell around her neck, much like how a house cat is typically depicted in anime. Her white gloves and boots bring to mind fluffy cat paws, perhaps to emphasize her agileness and youthful energy. While perhaps not as thought-provoking of a design as her earlier counterparts, I do think the outfit serves to characterize Yuma's attitude and background. Within the Oriko Magica manga, Yuma is abused and later abandoned by her own mother. After being rescued by Kyoko, a character from the original Madoka anime, Yuma quickly becomes attached to the older magical girl. It's because of this attachment, most likely made out of loneliness as much as it was from admiration of Kyoko, that Yuma makes her wish to battle alongside her new role model. In light of Yuma's backstory, I think the cat theming is meant to allude to her deep attachment to Kyoko, as well as her abandonment by her mother. It's practically an anime staple to have a character that finds a kitten left in a cardboard box in the rain. Pets are unconditional in their love, and people can lose sight of that fact, to the point that they carelessly leave them behind on the street. The outfit encompasses Yuma's painful history, as well as her desire to get past it with her newfound friend and guardian. It's here that we finally take a look at a character from the Kazumi Magica manga, which was illustrated by Takashi Tensugi. It's none other than the title character, Kazumi. But I must warn y'all, Tensugi's design is a little bit more risque when compared to earlier designs from Mura. Since YouTube isn't a fan of mentioning him, Kazumi will have her own little companion as we take a look into her magical girl attire. The first thing that's obvious right away is how much of Kazumi's outfit is based on the traditional attire associated with witches, from her wide-brimmed hat to her long dark cape. For viewers familiar with the lore of Madoka Magica, this feels very much a satirical choice by the illustrator. Kazumi's weapon, in contrast, brings to mind a religious cross, an interesting contrast to her witchy-inspired design. Now, in order to really dig into the significance of the staff, I'll need to delve into spoilers from the Kazumi Magica manga. So, spoilers here. It's revealed late in the manga's story that Kazumi is a clone of a magical girl who died after becoming a witch, while the original magical girl's staff has a star at the end. Kazumi's staff instead has the cross. This is linked to another character of the Kazumi Magica manga named Umika, whose outfit is heavily themed around religious iconography. Since Umika was vital in creating Kazumi, it makes sense that part of Kazumi's design would have references to one of her so-called inventors. It also brings to mind how death and resurrection plays a role in many religions, specifically in this case Christianity. As a clone, Kazumi is our living resurrection of her original self, one with a hopefully brighter future. Woo! That sure was a lot of magical girls. I hope today's video helped to bring some perspective to how purposeful artists are when they want to convey something about their characters, either subtly or less subtly, and allude to hidden facets through their designs. Were there any things you noticed about these magical girls I hadn't brought up in the video? Let me know down in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you're so kind. I hope to see y'all soon. Toodaloo!